First contact, first blood. Commander Jarl of the Kirnox Imperial Fleet observed the small blue-green planet on the main view screen. His 4 eyes narrowed as the bioscanners confirmed what the preliminary probes had reported. A Class 3 civilization with primitive space capabilities and abundant biological resources, perfect for harvesting. Analysis complete, Commander, reported Science Officer Trell, her tentacles dancing across the data interface. The dominant species calls themselves humans. They have achieved rudimentary spaceflight, possess nuclear capabilities, but have no unified planetary defense system. Their global military forces are fragmented among nearly 200 sovereign territories. Charles' mandibles clicked in satisfaction. The Kirnox Empire had conquered over 300 worlds in the last millennium, and this operation would follow the standard protocol. Disable global communications, eliminate military command centers, and deploy harvester units to collect biological specimens and resources. The population would be subdued within days. Their most advanced weapons? Jarl inquired, already calculating how quickly the planet would fall. Primitive nuclear missiles, supersonic aircraft, and rudimentary satellite defenses, Trell replied. Nothing that can penetrate our shields. They haven't even developed basic plasma technology. Charles rose from his command chair, his exoskeleton gleaming under the ship's lighting. Prepare the invasion force. We strike in 6 cycles. He turned to his second-in-command. Vex informed the fleet. Standard conquest formation. The massive Kirnox armada positioned itself in Earth's orbit, invisible to human detection systems thanks to their advanced cloaking technology. 50 destroyer-class vessels and 200 harvester ships prepared for the assault on the unsuspecting planet below. Deploy EMP arrays, Jarl ordered as the final preparations were completed. Target their major communication hubs and military installations first. The attack began without warning. Electromagnetic pulses rippled across the planet's surface, disabling power grids and communications networks across entire continents. Major cities plunged into darkness as panic spread among the human population. The Kirnox watched with clinical detachment as chaos unfolded below. First wave of harvesters, deploy, Jarl commanded, and the collection vessels descended through Earth's atmosphere, targeting densely populated areas for specimen gathering. The operation was proceeding exactly as thousands before it had. But something unexpected happened as the harvesters reached their targets. Human military forces, despite losing central command capabilities, adapted with alarming speed. Fighter jets launched from hidden runways, naval vessels activated backup systems, and ground forces coordinated using alternative communication methods. Commander, we're receiving distress signals from harvester units in North America and Asia, reported the communications officer, his voice tinged with confusion. They're under attack. Jarl's exoskeleton stiffened. Impossible. Their weapons can't penetrate our shields. The tactical display told a different story. Human fighters were targeting the harvester ship's propulsion systems, not with energy weapons, but with high-velocity kinetic projectiles that somehow bypassed the Kirnox shielding designed to deflect energy attacks. Status report. Jarl demanded as the first harvester crashed into what humans called the Pacific Ocean. They're adapting their weapons, Commander, Trell said, her voice betraying shock. They're using simple physics principles to overcome our defenses. The shields are calibrated for energy weapons, not physical projectiles. More harvesters began falling as human forces rallied worldwide. Military bases previously thought destroyed were emerging from underground bunkers. Civilian aircraft were being weaponized in desperate but effective counterattacks. This isn't possible, Vex muttered, watching the tactical display with mounting horror. How are they coordinating without central command? The answer became clear as the hours passed. Earth's military forces didn't rely on a single command structure. They operated as independent units capable of autonomous decision-making. When one command center fell, others simply adapted and continued fighting. Jarl paced the command deck, mandibles clicking rapidly in agitation. Launch the second wave with modified shields. Target their largest military installations with focused ion beams. The Kurnox fleet unleashed devastating energy weapons that carved smoking craters into Earth's surface. Human casualties mounted by the millions, but the resistance didn't crumble as expected. It intensified. "Commander," Trell called, her voice urgent. "I've been analyzing their communication patterns. They're not just fighting as separate units. They're sharing tactical information across their entire planet. The EMP didn't disable all their networks. They have redundancies we didn't detect." A massive explosion rocked Jarl's command ship. Alarms blared as damage reports flooded in. "What was that?" Jarl demanded. "A nuclear detonation in near orbit," the tactical officer reported. "They've modified their missiles to target our fleet. 3 destroyers have sustained critical damage." Another explosion, closer this time. The view screen showed a terrifying sight. Human spacecraft, cobbled together from existing technology, were launching from hidden bases on Earth's moon, carrying improvised nuclear weapons directly to the Kurnox fleet. "Impossible," Jarl whispered. "Their lunar base was nothing but a research outpost. It appears they converted it to a military installation," Trell replied, her tentacles trembling as she analyzed incoming data. "Commander, I'm detecting unusual biological readings from the human pilots. Their endocrine systems are producing compounds that should be killing them, yet they're functioning at enhanced capacity." The xenobiologist joined the conversation. "They call it adrenaline, Commander. When faced with extreme danger, their bodies release chemicals that temporarily enhance their physical capabilities and suppress pain. They're essentially overclocking their biological systems." Charles watched in disbelief as human spacecraft performed maneuvers that should have killed their pilots, absorbing forces that would crush most species. They were sacrificing themselves by the thousands, but for every human that fell, more rose to take their place. "Commander, we've lost 30% of the fleet," Vex reported, mandibles twitching nervously. "The harvesters are being systematically destroyed. We need to withdraw and reassess." Pride and tradition warred with tactical reality in Jarl's mind. In 8 centuries of service to the Empire, he had never ordered a retreat. But as another destroyer erupted in flames, reality asserted itself. "Tactical withdrawal," he ordered, voice heavy with shame. "Regroup at the system's edge." As the Kurnox fleet retreated from Earth orbit, Jarl studied the planet that had defied conquest. The scattered lights of human civilization were coming back online, networks reestablishing themselves, a species refusing to submit. "Commander," Trell said quietly, "I've been reviewing historical data from Earth's information networks. These humans, they spent most of their recorded history fighting each other. Every technological advancement they've made has been weaponized at some point." Charles turned all 4 eyes to her. "Meaning?" "Meaning," she continued, "that their entire civilization has been shaped by conflict. They don't just adapt to war, they excel at it. And now we've given them a common enemy." As the fleet limped away to safer space, Jarl prepared the transmission he dreaded sending, his report to the Imperial Council. For the first time in Kurnox history, a standard conquest had failed. And worse, they had awakened something dangerous. The planet called Earth was no longer just another target. It had become a threat. The Reckoning. Grand Admiral Vexera of the Kurnox Imperial Armada studied the holographic display of the small blue-green planet that had humiliated Commander Jarl's fleet 3 orbital cycles ago. The defeat was unprecedented. The Empire had never failed to conquer a Class 3 civilization before. "I want everything we have on these humans," Vexera demanded, her massive form casting shadows across the command deck of the dreadnought Inevitable Conquest. At 3 times the size of a standard Kurnox, the Grand Admiral's genetically engineered body reflected her status as the Empire's supreme military commander. Science Director Maul activated a detailed biological scan. Physically, they're unimpressive. "Admiral. Carbon-based, oxygen-dependent, limited regenerative capabilities. What makes them dangerous is their psychology and social structure. The hologram shifted to display human history, endless wars, rapidly evolving weapons technology, and a species that repeatedly survived disasters that should have driven them extinct. They call their planet Earth, Maul continued. Their recorded history is essentially an unbroken chain of conflict. When not fighting external threats, they fight each other over resources, ideology, territory, even abstract concepts like religion and political systems. Vexra's primary eyes narrowed, and yet they united against us. That's their most dangerous characteristic, Maul confirmed. They can transform from bitter enemies to allies almost instantly when faced with a common threat. Commander Jarl's invasion force inadvertently created global unity where none existed before. The Grand Admiral circled the hologram. The reinforcement fleet she commanded dwarfed Jarl's initial force, 500 destroyer-class vessels, 50 dreadnoughts, and over 1,000 specialized combat units. This time, there would be no strategic mistakes, no underestimation of the enemy. Begin the assault, Vexra ordered. No harvesting, no conquest. This is extermination. The second Kirnox attack came 6 months after the first. In that time, humanity had prepared. Global defense systems had been established, weapons technology adapted specifically to combat alien incursion, and Earth's space capabilities rapidly expanded. The Kirnox fleet emerged from hyperspace and immediately unleashed planet-killer weapons. Massive antimatter bombs designed to render worlds uninhabitable. But the bombs never reached their targets. A network of defensive satellites, hastily constructed from repurposed communications technology, intercepted them in high orbit. Impossible. Vexra hissed as the tactical display showed their primary weapons failing. How did they build orbital defenses so quickly? Admiral, the communications officer interrupted. We're being hailed by the humans. The main view screen activated to show a human female in a military uniform. This is General Elena Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. Your previous attack cost us millions of lives, but it taught us something valuable. You can be defeated. Withdraw now, or experience that lesson again. Vexra's mandibles clicked in amusement. You mistake desperation for victory, human. What you faced before was a collection fleet. This is a war fleet. Without waiting for a response, she cut the transmission and ordered the attack to continue. The Kirnox fleet descended on Earth, weapons blazing. Cities burned, oceans boiled, and millions more humans perished in the first hours of the assault. But again, humanity refused to break. This time, they were ready with more than just improvised defenses. In the 6 months since the first attack, human scientists had reverse-engineered technology from downed Kirnox vessels. They couldn't match the aliens' technological level, but they understood enough to exploit weaknesses. Human spacecraft swarmed the invaders, targeting specific vulnerabilities in Kirnox ship design. Ground-based energy weapons, primitive by Imperial standards, but devastatingly effective, shot down landing craft before they could deploy troops. And in orbit, something new appeared on the tactical displays. Admiral, the tactical officer reported, the humans have constructed weaponized space stations. They're launching some kind of missiles with biological payloads. The biological weapons revealed another aspect of human ingenuity. They had created viruses specifically tailored to Kirnox physiology, derived from studying fallen invaders. When the first dreadnought fell silent, its crew incapacitated by microscopic enemies they couldn't fight, Vexra realized this wouldn't be the simple extermination she had planned. Adapt countermeasures, she ordered, fury building in her 4 eyes. Deploy ground forces in sealed armor. Burn every human settlement to ash. The battle raged for days as Earth became a crucible of devastation. Human cities were reduced to rubble, but from the ruins, resistance fighters emerged with tactics no Kirnox strategist had anticipated. They used their own world as a weapon, leading invaders into natural disasters, setting traps using the planet's geology, and fighting with a ferocity born of defending their only home. In her command center, Vexera received increasingly disturbing reports. Kirnock's ground forces were being decimated not just by human weapons, but by the planet itself. Flash floods, collapsing structures, even indigenous microorganisms that corrupted their environmental systems. Earth was hostile in ways the Empire had never encountered. Admiral, Science Director Maul approached cautiously. I've completed a deeper analysis of human neural patterns. There's something you need to see. The holographic display showed human brain scans alongside recordings of their behavior in combat. When faced with certain defeat, most species surrender to preserve their genetic line. Humans do the opposite. They fight harder, often sacrificing themselves to ensure others survive. They call it heroism, and they've built entire cultural systems around glorifying it. Vexera absorbed this information with growing concern. You're saying they don't fear death? They fear it, Maul corrected, but they fear subjugation more. And they're willing to die to prevent it. Worse, they inspire each other with these sacrifices. One human's death can motivate hundreds more to fight with increased determination. A massive explosion rocked the inevitable conquest, sending crew members sprawling across the command deck. Damage reports flooded in as emergency systems activated. What happened? Vexera demanded. Humans have breached our engineering section, the security chief reported. They transported aboard somehow. The internal security feeds showed something that chilled even Vexera's battle-hardened core. Human soldiers in crude mechanical exoskeletons, fighting hand-to-hand against Kirnock's warriors twice their size. They moved with desperate speed, planting devices on critical systems before being cut down, only for more to appear elsewhere on the ship. Suicide attackers, Vexera realized too late. They never intended to survive. This was a one-way mission. The devices detonated simultaneously, crippling the dreadnought's propulsion and weapon systems. Similar reports came in from other vessels. Humans were sacrificing themselves by the thousands to destroy Kirnock's ships from within. Admiral, the tactical officer's voice shook with disbelief. 50% of the fleet is disabled or destroyed. The humans have launched a final counterattack. The view screen showed thousands of small craft converging on the remaining Kirnock's vessels. Not military spacecraft, but civilian vehicles retrofitted with explosive payloads, each with a human pilot making a one-way journey. Vexera watched in horrified fascination as the humans threw themselves against the might of the Empire. They shouldn't have had a chance, and yet ship after ship in her once mighty fleet winked out of existence. Order a full retreat, she finally commanded, 4 eyes fixed on the blue planet that had done the impossible. All surviving vessels, emergency hyperspace jump. As the remnants of the Kirnock's fleet fled Earth's solar system, Vexera prepared her report to the Imperial Council. But what could she say? That a primitive species had twice defeated the Empire's finest. That humans would rather die fighting than live under alien rule. In the quiet of her private chamber, she reviewed the final piece of intelligence Science Director Maul had provided. Intercepted transmissions revealing that humans were already adapting Kirnock's technology to build their own interstellar vessels. The implications were clear. The humans wouldn't stop at defending their world. They now knew they weren't alone in the universe, and they had been given every reason to consider all alien life hostile. A species that turned every obstacle into an opportunity, every defeat into a lesson, and would sacrifice anything for victory was now looking to the stars with new purpose. Vexera made a decision unprecedented in Imperial history. She classified Sol System and its third planet as a forbidden zone, too dangerous to approach. The official records would show Earth as uninhabitable, destroyed by natural disaster. The truth was far more terrifying. The universe now contained humans, and they knew they could win.